This week's Torah portion of Vayikra, a new book. What Rabbi Raphael is interested in is understanding why do we bring sacrifices, right? Why the sacrificial work? Why the Holy Temple? And indeed he says that many of the commentators, when we think about it, this, we're supposedly a logic or rational people, that this idea of creating a temple, bringing sacrifices for God, right? God doesn't need our sacrifices. Surely God doesn't eat or drink the food. So what is this all on about? And he brings Maimonides and Nachmanides. And he says at the end of the day, he says, for me, it's very simple. And he quotes Nachmanides and Sefer HaChinuch. And he says, at the end of the day, the reason we do this, in my mind, he says, is because it's meant to pin down into our minds, into our souls, that we are bowing down to God and that God watches over everything. And how does this happen? Because God chooses, right, the Kohenites, the elite, to bring the sacrifices before God. And when they are doing this, and people bring the Kohenites and the Levites their sacrifices, then the idea is when you see the blood and you see the animals that the sacrifices that are being burnt, you think in your mind, this is like me, this could be me, but it shouldn't be, and I need to go in the right path. So in terms of Rabbi Raphael, the whole work of bringing a sacrifice is for the person in order to understand that he must go in the path of God and that God watches over everything. And he says also beautifully, he says, this is my opinion of the verse, Ve'asu li mikdash v'shachanti betocham, and you shall make for me a sanctity and I will dwell within you. What does this mean? Exactly this, that when you bring the sacrifice, when you do the act of going to the Holy Temple, then you are creating a sanctity within you and God dwells in you because you have placed it in your minds and soul by seeing what's going on. The actions speak louder than words, and then they affect your soul and the way it works. And he concludes by saying, it also teaches us something about the way the world works. By man bringing herbs, plants, animals, it shows that man is king of the world. But by bringing these to God, to the Holy Temple, he then shows that God is king of all. And he concludes by saying, when you think about it, I don't understand what the whole fuss is and why all the commentators are worried about sacrificial work and it's illogical and doesn't make sense. He says, what could make more sense? It makes perfect sense. It is the only way, by having a special home in this world, where you bring everything else from nature, by showing that you're on top of everything, but there is a God on top of you, and then you place God in your hearts, and then God dwells in you in his sanctity. Thoughts on the Torah portion of Vayikra, and why the sacrificial work. Beautiful words by Rabbi Raphael Birdugo. Shabbat Shalom.